Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and this weekend, as with the coming next several weekends before the season kicks off, I would just like to quick recap any news items that happened throughout the week. So, welcome to this episode. Don't want it to be too long, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, but I do want to cover, it's going to be mostly injuries, any camp news, like guys that are shining at their local camps. Although I know I'm not going to cover those completely. Every camp's going to have several guys who are looking great at camp. But the ones that really start to make some of the bigger news headlines, I will, or anything that I come across that's fantasy relevant, I will put out on these videos. And just maybe a couple other random things that happen throughout the week, fantasy, maybe not even quite fantasy related. What I will not be talking about is going to be like contract news, unless it's directly related to the potential production that we would expect for fantasy output. Defensive injuries, unless, once again, that might impact one of the top couple of defenses if it's just a huge, big named player. And then none, like, just not non-fantasy, most fantasy format related stuff not going to be covered in here. If you have any questions throughout the week about upcoming drafts, keeper questions, trade questions, any of those kinds of things, please feel free to email me at thefantasyfootballforge@gmail.com. Link is down in the description, or I have it written down in the description as well if you want to just make sure you're spelling that correctly or something, but it's all over my page here. Anyways, I would like to also have a short section in these videos where I answer any questions that you have about anything fantasy related. So if there are any that come throughout the week, I will cover those on next Saturday's video. So now let's get to some non-new injury related items. And this is mostly non-injury related items here, but also there's one that's related to an injury, but just kind of catching up on an injury that happened last week. So let's get to these items. First of all, wide receiver Justin Ross, wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs, second-year guy, but didn't get an opportunity last season, which was part of the reason why he went undrafted, even though he had a very good college career, and many draft experts expected him to get taken second, third round. But due to an injury, major injury, things just didn't work out for them like that. But he is the type of guy who could definitely come out of nowhere and be a huge surprise. And so I'm really liking him and still lighting up the news there for Kansas City as far as how he's doing in the training camp. Then we have next item is quarterback Clayton Tune for the Arizona Cardinals. Could be the starter for week 1 over veteran Colt McCoy. Part of the reason that I did end up not being too low on a lot of the wide receivers, especially the wide receiver for Arizona, is that it was going to be Colt McCoy, kind of a dink and dunk, veteran, lots of short passes that guys will get. He was pretty good last season for the wide receivers there when he had to play, and bringing in rookie quarterback Clayton Tune would probably lower my expectations for pretty much all of the offensive guys for Arizona compared to Colt McCoy, but that would also then could be offset by any news for Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray is expected to be back within the first 3 weeks or something, that would offset that. This next new item coming out of Tampa Bay, their quarterback competition, the one between Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, is heating up. It is very tight. Some are even saying that Kyle Trask has pulled ahead of Baker Mayfield, so especially, I guess, maybe 2 quarterback leagues, you could pay attention to that. But I think, if anything, maybe that's a good thing, because part of the reason we're so down is that we thought it's going to be Baker Mayfield, and there's concerns about how good of a quarterback he actually is as a starter. So if Kyle Trask wins the job outright, I guess maybe we can expect something a little bit better, maybe. Now on to the New York Jets, some news coming out of there, just repeating the fact that they are still expecting Breece Hall to be ready to start the season week 1, so that is good news. And a tweet came out from Peter King of NBC Sports. The tweet said, "The most impressive rookie I've seen in 6 camps is Zay Flowers. I'd like to know what the other 5 camps that he had went to previously were. Were they camps with other rookie wide receivers? Was he just kind of comparing these to rookie wide receivers, or every position? Don't know for sure. But I was a little bit reactionary with this news item. I probably already at least was low on Zay Flowers compared to a lot of people, so I did move him up in my rankings with the concerns about OBJ and just in general his age, recovery from an injury, as well as Rashad Bateman already being banged up and his history with injury. The opportunity is very much possibly there, and good news is never bad news. So I moved Zay Flowers up from wide receiver 64 to wide receiver 56 for now. Could move back a few spots, could move up a few spots yet, or even I think a decent chunk potentially if news keeps coming out really well for him and maybe other news isn't well for the others or something. Yeah, I'm starting to get excited about that opportunity, I guess, and I like the offense for him too. Next up is Philadelphia. A local reporter says that Swift is very clearly the RB1. I think that came out earlier today. Friday night is when I'm recording this, about 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, I started off the season a few months back with DeAndre Swift, I believe higher than most people in my rankings. He has slipped a little bit since then. And that was really just due to some concerns and some creeping feelings of like, what if? And, Rashad Penny, it's been very good when he's played. All those kinds of things have moved those guys up a little bit and just definitely not moved him up and maybe allowed some people to jump him. So I might be moving Swift back up in my rankings just a couple of spots again because I think that Philadelphia running back spot could be very, very... First of all, he could do very good. Well, I think in that system, be super efficient, which is something he already, is his game, efficiency. And so there's a lot of things to like about that. I think he could definitely outproduce wherever he's going to get drafted unless that skyrockets before the season. Then a little news item out of Cincinnati. Ja'Marr Chase said that he told Joe Burrow that he didn't want Joe Burrow there in week 1 for reasons of health. If you weren't aware, I think it was last week now, Joe Burrow... I want to say it's a calf strain of some sort. I want to say it's calf injury. The only thing that for me comes out of this is that we may need to start to think of the reality of Joe Burrow missing a week or more because, I wasn't overly concerned about this with the initial reporting and everything, and I'm still not overly concerned about him. I'm not changing my rankings on him, but I'm following that now. It would make sense for Cincinnati to want to be extra cautious and maybe sit him for a week or two to make sure that he is fully healthy before putting him back out there because they are a Super Bowl contending team. They want him at the end of the year. And so you can risk maybe losing your first 2 games or something without him in order to ensure that. That's going to bring us to the Monday news items. So the rest of this is just in order, mostly injury stuff. So Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets, wide receiver, low ankle sprain. Shouldn't be too worried about that. He was probably practicing again by the end of the week. Well, maybe not. But nothing else came out throughout the week that I saw. And it's a low ankle, not a high ankle sprain. So all good there. Zach Moss of Indianapolis broke his arm, unfortunately, on Monday. That's a 6-week recovery time, so that should bring him back for the early portion of the season, maybe week 2 or so at the earliest. But between that and the Jonathan Taylor stuff, that's really going to give an opportunity for rookie running back Evan Hall to take the reins, get a lot of reps, and impress coaches and whatnot, and maybe build himself a role on that offense. Now, I don't think that he would ever be the RB1. He is more of a third down back kind of guy, but maybe he'll get a chance to really carve out a role. And he is taking that opportunity, and he's impressing people. He's been receiving good reviews early on in camp from the local media. He is a guy who, in the draft process earlier, I liked him. He's a 5th-round draft pick, if that matters to you. As a prospect, I wanted to like him more than I ended up liking him. However, he was still very interesting. There were reasons that he caught my eye early on in the draft process, at least. And so, yeah, he's an interesting prospect who's getting an early opportunity here to impress. And so we'll see how things go with that, but maybe a guy to start thinking about as a late draft option. Then, unfortunately, another big injury early on this week. Tim Patrick, Denver Broncos wide receiver, went down. He had a tear of his Achilles. Was it an Achilles tear, I believe? Had surgery, for a torn Achilles on Friday. It is a 6-month expected recovery time. He's out for the season. In addition to that, I believe on Monday as well, maybe Tuesday, KJ Hamler, Denver Broncos, another wide receiver of theirs, has a heart condition that they've found out about, whatever. He's expected to be back with the team, but not maybe for some time. It's going to take him out of camp and everything. And all these things are similar to Evan Hull, really, given the rookie wide receiver Marvin Mims an opportunity here. I spoke about that in my video that came out on Thursday, right? Marvin Mims, definitely a guy who's jumped up. He's now the 3rd rookie wide receiver in my rankings. Then moving on to Tuesday, not big items here. Running back Roschon Johnson of Chicago Bears missed practice. I never heard anything else about that one. Running back Travion Williams went down in practice. He is week to week now. Did I say Cincinnati's running back? So if you are a Travion Williams guy, maybe keep an ear out on that. But it's just week to week right now, so it sounds like he should be back for the season. And then on Wednesday, we had another big name injury here. Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams, wide receiver, hamstring injury. So it's expected to be a few week recovery time, which would put you in time to come back for the regular season. But if you know anything about hamstring injuries, you know that they can literally hamstring a guy's production for an entire season. They are very touch and go. And the biggest thing about them is that you can feel like it's ready, but you don't really know if it's completely healed up and ready to go unless you completely give it a go. And once you go 100% with it, obviously, if it's not ready to go, you might just re-injure it, and then you set yourself back a whole bunch. So the risk factor for Cooper Kupp has increased. I already didn't have him as my wide receiver 1 or anything. I believe he is my wide receiver 4. I'm going to keep him there. This isn't going to move him off of that. Something to keep in mind for Cooper Kupp if you had him in your top 2, 3, maybe think about pushing him back a little bit. Then Calvin Ridley of Jacksonville had a wide receiver, had a toe injury. It appears to be nothing. Initially, I was concerned about this, though, thinking that it might be a turf toe, which I actually had once, and those things are not so bad for the average person, but they don't go away. They're very easily re-injured. They're a PASL for a long time. So luckily it doesn't appear that was the case. If that comes out, then I would be concerned about Calvin Ridley, that it is turf toe. Then Alvin Kamara, New Orleans running back, had a meeting with the commissioner about his suspension on Wednesday. News didn't come out until today on Friday, or yesterday when you're watching this video, that it is a 3-game suspension is what they agreed to. He is not going to be trying to delay that, getting that reduced or anything. That was just a complete agreement. Now, that is 18% of games for most fantasy leagues' entirety of their season, including the playoffs, 21% of the regular season games, so about 1 in 5 games that you wouldn't have a player. So that's not great. That's not as bad as the potential 6-game suspension or, almost half of the games or something you would be without a guy. So this was around what I was expecting from him, between 2 to 4 games. Not best case scenario, not worst case scenario. I have moved him up a little bit in my rankings. I might move him right back. It was very tough for me to move him up, but I did end up giving him a decent jump up to running back 24, which put him up ahead of J.K. Dobbins, because at this point in time, J.K. Dobbins has his own questions, contract things, maybe injury things still lingering there. So it's a little bit touch and go, but Alvin Kamara is either going to be a very, very back-end RB2 or very, very high-end RB3 in my books, either way. Isaiah Pacheco of Kansas City, news came out he should be cleared for contact come by August 20th. And so that's not a finger thing, which was what we knew, an injury to one of his fingers earlier. That is a shoulder thing. So I don't, it's a non-news item, essentially, I think, as far as where you're drafting him and whatnot. But a good news item, if you've already drafted or anything like that, he's should be fine to go, especially by the time the season starts. Then we move on to Thursday news items. First of all, coming from Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos, running back Javonte Williams. The plan for him is to be playing him in preseason week 2's game. So I jumped him up in my rankings with that news because, I mean, things really seem to be going well if that's the expectation as far as his recovery from his pretty terrible injury last season. So moved him up to running back 27, which pushed him up ahead of, at that point in time, Alvin Kamara, who was at 28, who's also jumped up since then. But I'm tempted to move, I wrote that I was tempted at that point to move him up ahead of J.K. Dobbins. So I think you can see my line there of where I'm willing to move some of these guys up to, where I start to get a little bit unsure of a guy like J.K. Dobbins and where I have him ranked. But I do like J.K. Dobbins a lot. As far as Javonte Williams goes, though, the news keeps getting better and better. So I don't know. I don't know what the ceiling is on where I could rank him. I don't know how much you want to take camp news and write it in stone. But we'll see. We'll see if he comes out and plays, and then we could actually get a look at him in week 2. Other news, Zach Charbonnet, Seattle Seahawks rookie running back, returned to practice after missing a few days of practice. Then on a Thursday night, we had the Hall of Fame game, and I really am not taking anything away from that game fantasy-wise. Geno Smith, Seattle Seahawks quarterback, last year, January, had a potential DUI arrest. I don't know. No charges are going to be filed in connection with a DUI arrest from January of 2022. Just wanted to make a comment because the details surrounding that arrest, his behavior with that arrest, just everything surrounding it, it's not flattering. It doesn't look good, but I wouldn't be concerned about there being any kind of NFL consequences at this point in time. I'm sure the NFL, I'm sure the team already had the reports, and I'm almost 100% sure of that. Knew about his behavior. He's probably received a talking to February of last season or something like that by the team, and any kind of internal punishments may have already happened. So not concerned about that if that news worries you about Geno Smith, if you saw anything about that. Then on today, Friday, luckily, as of now, hopefully nothing happens on the West Coast late here, but a couple of things. Logan Thomas, tight end for the Washington Commanders, strained calf. Not a big concern there, not really a fantasy guy. Cardinals added veteran running back Marlon Mack to their backfield. Doesn't concern me about the only running back that I'm really considering targeting there. Dwayne Eskridge of Seattle Seahawks wide receiver was suspended for 6 weeks today. So if there are any Dwayne Eskridge truthers that still remain out there and thought that he might have a chance of outplaying rookie Tyler Lockett, outplaying, holy cow, JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and getting that slot wide receiver role this season, I think you can cool your jets on that one. And then Colts also brought in a veteran running back today in signing Kenyon Drake. And with all the running back things that are going on there recently, I think that makes sense. He's obviously going to be a camp body. And I think in both the cases of him and Marlon Mack, they're camp bodies, maybe guys that stay on the roster, but if nothing else, if there are injuries throughout the season, they now have a veteran who is familiarized with the system and all that could come in and help. If I missed anything, especially if it's something big or if it's just something that you think should have been mentioned and I didn't, please leave it down in the comments, especially when it comes to, I'm sure I covered the big injury news items, but as far as guys lighting it up for your favorite team, whatever teams you follow, I'm not able to sit there and see every team's highlights of who's doing really good in camp. So definitely leave those names out there for other people coming across this video to see and maybe follow up on their own. Let us know who's lighting up your favorite team's camps, and I'd be appreciative about that too. Always helps. So thank you very much. You take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Peace out.